Hello, welcome to the Wasting Time podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. I am here with Nick. What's up, Nick?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Getting ready for your wedding next weekend. It's creeping up on us.
Yeah, the listeners must be so bored of hearing about this because I've been mentioning it like in most episodes at some point for about.
That's right. It's a big event.
A year and a half.
It's a big event.
But yeah, no, I appreciate that though, mate. Yeah, that's kind of what Nick and I have been chatting about before we started recording for obvious reasons. Cause
I'm obviously wondering what's going to be on your wedding soundtrack in terms of some of our guests and previous shows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like is the first dance going to be feat by any of the artists we've had on this show? I don't know. Well, you'll have to wait and see, my friend.
Oh, right. Okay.
And and how much music from previous guests will feature throughout the reception.
Okay.
You know, because we got to cater, mate. Like, it's a big wedding, small portion of people who would listen to the kind of music that we cover on this show. So it's all about that balance. Actually, so for the listener, Nick got married, just over 3 years ago, wasn't it? I from your reception, I can't really remember. Did you have much, if any, kind of pop punk music for the main part of the night? Remind me.
A little bit, yeah. So we had a DJ that came on later on in the day, which he didn't play any, but I had a pre-DJ playlist.
Yeah, I remember heard that sound by MXPX being played, but that was before the actual prop when the DJ was on, like the evening part. Did you have any of that music?
No, I don't think so. No,
None at all.
No, he had a brief of kind of soul classics, I guess, really, and kind of
yeah. Which is very cool, and you know, I remember enjoying it. But I find that interesting. There's someone I know, obviously, you like other types of music and stuff, but just that you were quite chill about that. Because, spoiler alert for you, Nick. I'll need some of that music. You know what I mean? Because I'm just it's my wedding. I'm definitely going to take advantage of having some music I love being played.
I think the difference
was that never a thing for you?
No, and it was more. I think I was so keen to just kind of for it to be a good party for the guests, really. Not that that you're not doing the same, but I would definitely. What I would say is that outside of you and maybe Dan and maybe one or two others, you were the only real kind of contingency that would be interested. So it didn't feel quite as maybe appropriate for yours, where you probably got a much bigger contingency who will quite happily get up and probably have a good old I don't know what you want to call it. Rock out. That sounds a bit
good
sad,
old boogie to the classics.
It sound old.
And also, I feel like, and there's enough of a crossover from people who aren't into this type of music, like perhaps you or me are, but would enjoy some of the hits and
this is it.
And get involved. So hopefully that'll be all right.
Don't worry, you'll not be on the dance floor by yourself when a good Charlotte song comes on. It might just be me and you, but
we'll see. I'll take that.
See. Cool. So, anything kind of on your radar before we dive into our interview?
Yeah, a couple of things. I sent you a couple of things to listen to, so I haven't asked you about this yet. So I'm curious to see if you've done your homework. Listeners, let's see if Nick's done some homework. I didn't send him much.
Which one do you want to start with?
Oh, okay.
The answer is yes. I have done my homework. So
good, nice. I think I only sent you two things. I don't know if there was anything else I wanted to mention. Before we get into those, there are a couple of songs I've quite enjoyed recently. I don't know if you heard All Time Low's new song. That's pretty good with Pale Waves.
No.
Check that out. It's got a good melody on the chorus. And was there anything else outside of what I sent you?
The Last Gang, I know I sent you those guys. I know Fat Mike posted about them this week.
Yeah, that was cool.
Totally new one. I'd never heard of them before. And you plug in their new album. They've released a single. I don't think the album's out yet. I think it's coming out soon. The Last Gang, and the album's called Noise, Noise, Noise. But I like the sound of it, and went through some of their previous stuff, and
Yeah,
really
the song you
enjoyed
sent
it.
me was cool.
Yeah, Sing for Your Supper, I think it's called, something off that album. But yeah,
Yeah.
kind of female singer, like that kind of Descendancy, Interruptus, kind of gravelly female voice, but with like, you know, catchy kind of poppy punk kind of songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah,
Yeah, all about that.
definitely
Oh,
give that new album a listen.
Definitely. Yeah, one thing I want to mention before we get into the songs I sent you is, do you know who are going to be fucking huge? That Magnolia Park. Like, they're keep
flying at the moment, are they?
Yeah, they're just doing it right, man. Like, you know, they took advantage of that featured X thing. You know, had like Oliver Baxter and Kellen Quinn on some songs and some other big artists, and that's got them loads of attention. And like, they just keep putting out new music, and it's really fucking good, man. I don't know if you've listened to any of their recent stuff. It's like it's probably on trend with the kind of, you know, like Machine Gun Kelly, Kenny Hoopla, Point North kind of sound. So, you know, it's a bit like that, but not just, it's bringing something new to it. It's not just imitating all those artists. And I just think they're doing it right. And I was listening to them on the All Punked Up podcast. Shout out to All Punked Up podcast. And, you know, they were kind of talking, you know, it's clear they're going to be signed to a big label quite soon. And it's funny, I think I know which label. I won't say which label it is, but basically it was someone who I've been talking about Love Breakers with, and it's a big label in our scene. And I noticed this guy, because I follow him on Instagram, he's now following every member of Magnolia Park. So I think they're going to be on that label, which will take them to the next level. And I think they're going to be, this time next year, I think they're going to be really huge.
Okay, cool. Let's keep an eye on them.
Yeah. But yeah, so... What did I send you? I sent you that Felicity song. It's funny, all these people are like ex-guests of ours, like Magnolia Park, Felicity and stuff. What do you think make of Felicity? They're a weird one.
I think it's a really big album for them, like sound wise.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's, you know, it's not necessarily my cup of tea and what I'd listen to, but
yeah,
like if you're into that kind of stuff, I think it sounds like a big album. I think Weather is the track that stuck out to me. You heard that one?
Yeah, I listened through the album, and like, yeah, for me, just because it wasn't really my thing, the album overall, because it's a bit like, oh, let's sound like a Day to Remember too much.
Yeah, Day to Remember, kind of a trio, Story of the Year, kind of that era.
Yeah, and that's kind of a time a little bit. I think I know those bands are all still, well, particularly Day to Remember, are all still huge and stuff, but it's a bit like jumping on the trend a bit late. But when they do just the more straightforward pop songs, I think they do them quite well. Like there's that song, which I think is their newest single, "Wish You Weren't Here," and like bit of a boy band chorus, but it's really well structured and written. So they've got it when they need it, you know.
I think the album's just got just a big sound to it, and if that's your cup of tea, I think you're gonna, you'll really really like it. I think.
Yeah, and they're another band a bit like Magnolia Park, like the way they know how to play the game. Like there was another single from the album where they did a little campaign. They made it look like they kicked their singer out, and they were like pretending to hold auditions and stuff. And then the video all tied in with like fake auditions, and then he was the best one. It's like, oh, we're going to use him, and it was a little campaign that got them loads of attention. So they're kind of doing it right, you know.
Cool. And good luck to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice guys.
Yeah.
And the other one was the new Bleachers album, Take the Sadness Out of Saturday Night.
Yeah, because we're both Bleachers fans, and this is an album we've been looking forward to for a while, so I thought it would make sense to talk about it. I think the songs that were released before the album are probably the strongest. But what I know you talked about the production of Stop Making a Hurt. I think what was the one. No, it was
How Dare You Want More.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, but just listening through the album, like the production just is like just feels and sounds really inconsistent all the way through. So it's like, do you get what I'm saying? No.
Yeah, I do, and I think
really weird,
and it's deliberately like that, and that annoys me a little bit, and I just think that's a bit pretentious. It's just like,
but all the songs just sound like they've been completely mixed and produced by someone completely different. And like it's really odd. it just doesn't sound like cohesive or like consistent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's frustrating because I think there's some really good songs on it, and I'd like to hear them.
Yeah.
Big production on them.
45. I think is the I guess the biggest standout for me on that record though.
Right.
Stop Making the Cert. I quite like that one. I'm not too impressed by How Dare You Want More, but yeah, I definitely think they're those three that they've already kind of put out previously.
So nothing new on it that stood out.
Yeah. But yeah,
same
but
for
just
me.
a bit of a weird one. Not just we talk about going back to we talked about with Love Breakers about like their desire to just kind of write records and solid records and something you can put on like on a vinyl or whatever and you listen to it all the way through. Like just this record just definitely not feel like that.
No,
unfortunately. Which but you could definitely say that about some of the previous stuff. Definitely. There's my homework.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Should we get just straight into this week's episode?
Yeah, I think we probably should.
We caught up with Steve from the band Punchline. So yeah, here it is, I guess.
Color tan with the loudest cry, or missing and activating. You and I end up where we're not supposed to. We all have a match if we can make the connection. So when your time comes, make sure you're paying attention to it. She's sitting on the other side. Sees her as he's walking by.
Steve, we haven't thanked you for being here. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Giving us some of your time, man.
I'm just getting my Zoom thing set up, and then I want to look at you guys. Say hello.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Cool. Yo, hey guys.
Hey.
Okay, we got Chris and we got Nick.
We have.
Nice.
So I'm in East London, in Stratford in East London right now, and Nick is up in the northeast in Newcastle. I don't know how much you've been to both places. I know you've definitely been to both places in your sort of touring schedule back in the day.
Yeah, I seem to remember MXPX gig with the Get Go in Newcastle.
Yeah,
a few years ago.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was a good one. That was one of the best shows on that tour, I think.
No, you just.
That was a weird time for Punchline. I'll tell you, it was a weird tour for us at the.
Why was it a weird time
at the time? I feel like we were transitioning out of our time on Fueled by Ramen and kind of back into being at the like helm of our DIY operation. And I think that was right before I went back. I had dropped out of college to go on tour. And then shortly after that MXPX tour, I like went back and finished. Which now I kind of regret. I don't know why I did that. I didn't go
dropping out or actually going back?
I mean, I regret going back more than I regret dropping out. But it was fun going back and being in school and wanting to be there. I don't know if it was worth the price tag for that feeling.
Okay. I mean, there's something perhaps we could get into a little bit more further on, but before we kind of get into that stuff, like where are you based, Steve? I have it in my head that you're based in Nashville. Am I imagining that, or?
I was in Nashville for 5 years.
Okay.
I moved back and I've been in Pittsburgh. So I'm in Pittsburgh and we're a Pittsburgh-based band.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, I've always known Punchline to be a Pittsburgh-based band, but like, yeah, I don't know where the well, obviously you were in Nashville.
No, I was there for years. I was there for years.
I feel like there was. I mean, Nick, help me out here, because I feel like there was a guest we've had in the last year who was talking about being in Nashville and spending time with you, and it was either who was it? It was either the guy from the singer from Cartel, or it might have been what's his name? The guy who's making the Last Scene documentary, Kyle. It might have been him.
Oh yeah. Probably Kyle. But I was friendly with both of those guys. But but I was very involved in the Last Scene in the documentary.
Okay, and, you were. Sorry, go on.
Like I was a part of his team, sort of, in helping put it together. like coordinating interviews and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
As well as being in it.
Of course. Oh, okay.
But that's the
Okay.
only reason I'm in it, is because I did work behind the scenes too. That's how I
Oh,
weaseled my way into that one.
nah, don't sell yourself short, man. Like, Punchline, an important band in that scene. Do you know what's going on with that documentary? Like, is it? Are we gonna? Is it gonna come out anytime soon? Do you know what stage
I
it's at?
checked in with him last week to see what is up. He's been diligently working on it. The pandemic, he ended up doing a ton of virtual interviews, which kind of
Yeah.
brought it into a new realm. So I think there was, that tacked on some work to the timeline, but editing is his forte. So I imagine that it's going to take some time. I think he's going to do it as an episodic series.
Oh, okay.
And he was very passionate about the scene and was a fan and a part of it in that regard, but he knew nobody, like had no relationships with anybody. And to go from that to getting all of the interviews he did,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
his diligence and perseverance, like once he got going, I mean, he's just not stopped. It's really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
impressive.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to seeing that when it's done.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too.
definitely,
Me
definitely.
too.
So what's your kind of, obviously we want to get in the Punchline stuff, but what's your kind of day-to-day kind of like? What's your home life like these days?
Yeah, I've been waking up around 6 a.m. I come downstairs and I feed my cat and I get on the yoga mat and I do a good morning stretch. And then I go to the coffee shop in my neighborhood and get in a few hours on the laptop. And I've been really obsessed with this app called Notion. It's like an organizational app and workspace app. And I have been obsessed with like moving my life into this thing this week. So I've been doing some of that. And then we're finishing up tracking 2 songs from the new Punchline album. We're kind of finishing 2 songs first so that they can come out well in advance of things, and hope to finish more than just 2 in advance of the album. But we're deep in the trenches with that, and it's been super fun. I had breakfast with my friend David from this band String Machine this morning, awesome indie rock Pittsburgh band, and I was telling him how, after all these years of Punchline being a band, it's like romance can keep a romantic relationship together, and new good songs can keep a band together.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's, in between album cycles, when you kind of get worn down and whatnot, like you naturally go through a little lull. But baby, when those song ideas start coming through and you start to see like what the next chapter is gonna look like and sound like, it like brings everybody like scrambling back. And it's been, we made the decision to go at self-producing our next album like we did the last one, and it's very gratifying. It's very exciting.
And did that kind of start pre or kind of post or mid pandemic? I mean, when did that kind of start again? With what's been going on the last year or so?
So yeah, I would say the pandemic year was mostly just a writing year, and now this year is a recording year, and the next year is a releasing year.
Cool.
That's exciting.
It's the three R sounds: writing, recording, releasing.
What about kind of touring and shows as well? Did you have anything lined up, or were you, I guess waiting on that front?
What I think our plan had been to write and record, although we had planned to go somewhere like, go to New York or Nashville or somewhere and spend, a month and record an album. And the pandemic had us pivot to, let's self-produce again so we can so we can get moving. I like being the masters of our own audio. I want to be able to, like, I don't like how those vocals sound. It's Thursday. I'm going to open up the session and I'm going to redo that second verse.
Yeah, it must be nice having that freedom.
Yeah, I mean, are you kind of taught? Is that mostly kind of self-taught? Or, I mean, do you do other stuff outside of kind of the Punchline kind of stuff,
I mean,
production-wise?
recording was very much self-taught. I feel like, it started off with demos in GarageBand around like the 37 Everywhere, Just Say Yes era.
Yeah.
That's around those two albums are for me when Punchline became, or like the writing songs more than, I don't know, the whole band thing. Like the passion was like just the whole idea, like I can think with my brain and come up with a song that people really like and I love, and it's like our sound. That's so exciting. The possibilities are endless. So I got really into that then, but then it wasn't until like around So Nice to Meet You where the production became like, well, I want to do more than this, and I had an opportunity to do some music for TV shows, like background music in TV shows.
Okay.
I don't know how much you pay attention to TV and reality shows, but there's like a music change every 15 seconds. It's
Right.
crazy. So if you pay attention to how, like, what the music is, it's interesting is all I can say. If you tune in to like the quality of it. Anyways, I had an opportunity to do that, and then I moved to Nashville for 5 years, which was mostly feels like I got a music education out of living there, and that I got really into audio production there and kind of learned that. And then we did our last Punchline album, Lion, mostly in Nashville, and that was our first self-produced album. But then we had Mark McCluskey, who's produced a bunch. He's like been Punchline's longtime producer. He mixed it, and what else did he do that you guys would know? He did one of the Motion City soundtrack albums. He did Weezer.
Okay.
He mixed Weezer Hurley and a ton of other stuff. Yeah.
Well, I guess what we usually do with these things is kind of go back to the start, really, and kind of. I know it's be tough for you because you've been around for ages, and Punchline have been around for ages. But
Was it 24 years recently, though?
yeah,
Yeah.
but we usually just kind of do a whistle stop tour through the ages, I guess, really.
Let's do it.
So yeah, I guess maybe
You guys have 5 or 6 hours?
whistle stop.
Do it, man.
I don't. But yeah, I guess maybe just take us a little bit back to the start in terms of where you guys met, how you got together. Well, actually, I guess maybe you personally, in terms of your early experiences with music, maybe your kind of journey to start with.
For sure. I met Chris in high school. Chris and PJ are the guys that started the band with. Chris is still a member. Me and him are longtime members. And we met like in the first days of high school. Me and Chris rode the bus together. Me and PJ met on the first day of school. And I mean, we were just like, there weren't that many kids in our school who had interest in being in bands as far as having guitars and drum sets. So we found each other very quickly and had some other bands that, were bands but never played shows. And Punchline's the first band that really any of us had that ever did anything. And that was started when I was 16 years old, sophomore in high school. And our first couple years, I feel like most bands would have eventually started a more serious band and changed their name. But us, like, it's always been Punchline. Our first demo tapes, our first recordings are Punchline, which is pretty crazy what you can look up on the internet out there. But we started playing local shows, and then more, started playing more in the city. It was a very natural progression to playing, outside. Let's go to Cleveland. Let's go to Baltimore. And some of those early shows were super, super encouraging. So much that, like our first show that we ever played outside of Pennsylvania, we sold like 100 CDs or something like that. And we were like, we got to do this all the time. This is amazing. And I always wonder, like, what if that first show had sucked, So we had a lot of wins in the early days because there was something really, something really brewing with the whole pop punk thing that would, later
Yeah.
explode. We were really in a lucky time. You don't realize it at the time that you're
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of this
Hmm.
this bigger movement, but it was very cool to be a part of that. And we dropped out of college and went on these like crazy long self-booked tours. And that's around the time we started making our first like serious album, which is Major Motion Picture, which came
Hmm.
out 20 years ago
Yeah.
this summer. This next month, I think, is the 20-year anniversary. And that album was really, yeah, that's when Paul joined our band. We became a four-piece. We got into doing like elaborate vocal harmonies and these like really long intros to songs. I think we had this attitude early on, like, oh yeah, you have a part for the song, let's throw it in. It wasn't until later that we were like, let's try to like, fell in love with like the pop songwriting,
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had these songs that had really long intros, and we would spend all this time in the recording studio, and it was like the dawn of Pro Tools and digital recording, and we were just, immersed in it and obsessed with it, and meeting people at early shows that would later, go on, like, are still around today, which is super cool. One of the so the first out of town show we played, the next time we went back, which was like 2 months later or something. It was this festival in someone's back, like a festival. It was in somebody's like parents' backyard, and we met Greg Wood, who 8 years later, or yeah, like 8 years later, became our guitar player on
Hmm.
37 Everywhere. JT from Hawthorne Heights was there with his first band, and I think it's like, so I just love it so much that even within the first couple years of us, being a band, there's still people that are like around or went on to do, crazy cool stuff. And we made our next EP, which is called the Rewind EP,
Yep.
and kept touring, and things started to like ramp up a little bit. That's when we became friends with like the Bayside guys, and Rewind EP is what we got signed to Fuel by Ramen with, which that came about. We were sending out like press kits to labels, and you know, I don't know, trying to reach labels through their mailbox, which I don't know how effective that was, but it was frustrating, and we kind of told ourselves like, let's wait until labels come to us, and that's how we'll know that we're doing the right thing.
Right.
And
Okay.
that really worked out for us. We just kept grinding, and eventually Fuel by Ramen came along, and at the time Fuel by Ramen came along and we got signed to Fuel by Ramen, and we were about to go. We had just self-booked a tour with Fall Out Boy when they told us that they were, John Janik, who's now the freaking CEO of Interscope Records.
Hmm.
He was, after we started working with them, he's like, hey, we're actually signing this other band called Fall Out Boy. And I was like, that's crazy because we're going on tour with them this fall already. And he was like, that's insane. What a small,
So,
what
I
a
mean,
small world.
do you know where? I mean, you say Fueled by Ramen just came along, but I mean, do you know like where they picked you up? Was it just like from the live scene that you were making waves, or I mean, how did that relationship start? I guess really, do you know where they? Or do you know? Do you not know?
We were on tour, and we were touring with this band called Unsung Zeros, who were they were a big Florida band, and like they were like the same size as
Hmm.
Punchline regionally, but they
Yeah.
had a big thing in Florida, like we had a thing in Pennsylvania. And I think through some of their friends, they got the guys from Fuel by Ramen to come out to the show, and it was the end of a tour. We had been on tour for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and we were so tight. That is when you want people to see you play, is at the end of the tour. don't go to the
Makes
first. Don't come
sense.
to the first show. Come to the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
show. And I, there's a handful of shows over the years where you it comes along and you're like, oh, so and so is going to be here tonight. Like, we got to play good. And so many times where you walk off stage and you're like, damn it, we didn't play good. And I remember that Gainesville show that we played one of the best, like the best set to date. It was just incredible. And it was like one of the last shows of the tour. And that helped get us signed. Yeah.
So I'm just jumping back slightly here because there's something I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you. Like I was watching your musical thing the other day.
The Punchline music special.
The Punchline music special. Yes.
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed
On
very
Amazon
much. Can I
Prime.
just say on Amazon
Thank
Prime?
you.
Although for our European listeners, I guess not on Amazon. You can get it on YouTube because you kindly sent me the private link for it. So like if you're not based in the States, I think get it
Right.
from the Punchline website, and then you can watch it on YouTube. So for our listeners,
Nice.
it's definitely worth watching. But yeah, I think it was you mentioned on it, like you just when you first started playing in the Pittsburgh scene, like you were surprised that you were quite accepted by other bands because like it wasn't really like a pop punk scene at the time, and obviously that's what you guys were doing. But
Yeah,
was it
totally.
like
We
the
were
3-part harmonies that made you kind of stand out, so people couldn't help but like you? Or
I think that we just thought that punks were more intimidating than punks are, when really
Okay.
we were all just like extreme music lovers who would hang out in these dark and dingy places and do music. I don't think we quite had the harmonies yet, and we were more just doing a lot of jumps, and maybe they liked our
Okay.
physical stamina.
Yeah, fair, understandable. Okay.
Well, I mean, what kind of stuff were you guys like listen to like when you just came together as well?
Ooh.
What were you
That's a good
into?
one. Uh, I was into. I feel like I was on this alternative track with like I was a big Pavement fan, and I loved like Weezer, Pinkerton, and those two albums were like my everything. And then Chris came along and he showed me Blink 182 and MXPX, and I just like leaned into the pop punk thing.
Yeah.
But then the pivotal bands along the way, like once Jimmy Eat World came around, we were like, wait, we're more of a rock band. Like we identify more as like we want to be a rock band. And then I feel like the Get Up Kids were a huge one for us. Saves the Day, Midtown, all those bands. We were very much like, it's funny. I think all of us have very eclectic taste now, but until we were like, 30, I feel like we all exclusively listened to pop punk. It's like 6 a.m. You're doing yoga, put on pop punk. Like winding down at the end of the day, put on 4 Year Strong.
Yeah.
But after the Rewind EP, we were on Fuel by Ramen, and we made the album Action with Sean O'Keefe, the producer Sean O'Keefe, who did Fall Out Boy, Take This to Your Grave. We visited them when they were in the studio making that, and met Sean. And along the way, it's like always next logical step. Like, oh, well, these are the producers on our horizon. Let's love how that sounds. Let's try and work with him. So we did that album in Chicago, and we stayed on our friend Jason Link's floor, slept on his floor for a month. He let us stay at his house for 1 month. Super sweetheart. Jason, if you're watching, really
Patient
appreciate
and tolerant as well, I guess.
Yeah. But that album came out, and I remember that was a big deal. We got a new van that broke down like on the way to the first show of the tour. We had to cancel the first show of that tour. I can still remember being stranded on the side of the turnpike. And I mean, those years, 2002 through 2009, we were on the road 150, 200 shows a year. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, 150 shows a year feels like 365 shows a year. I could say it's not, but it feels like it.
Yeah, I guess with the shows getting bigger at that point as well, and I mean, what kind of venues and what kind of bands are you playing with at that point?
Yeah, those years we toured a lot with Less Than Jake and Fall Out Boy, Bayside. We did a couple tours in Japan with Fall Out Boy, and one with Paramore, and one with Useless ID, which I love. I love them.
They're great. Yeah.
I love them so much. And yeah, the show we were playing a lot of clubs, doing a lot of tours in the van thing, and the music industry was starting to like rapidly change with the CD sales falling off, and kind of that led into our next album, which was 37 Everywhere, which we did. We recorded in New York City with the same guys that did those Bayside albums, like they're self-titled. Similar thing, like went to visit them in the studio, like, wow, these producers are cool. Like, all right, they'll do our next album. Logical next step. And 37 Everywhere was super cool and pretty well received. We lost a guitar player, and we were having some tumultuous times in the band. I think like at that point we had just been like grinding on the road for years, and we lost the guy, and was an interesting change for the band at such a pivotal point of like that Fueled by Ramen era. It was challenging, but at the same time, like we didn't really skip a beat, and we kept going hard. And that album is, by the next album, is like people weren't buying CDs at all, and we were like, the MySpace era had begun.
Yeah,
I feel like 37 Everywhere was kind of released at the peak of the MySpace era, like
right.
that transition.
Nice. I imagine you guys might have some things to say about Action and 37 Everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of your familiarity with Punchline, but I figure
no, pretty familiar. I'll not speak for Nick, but for me, like I've been sort of listening to Punchline for about, it feels like 20 years, because I feel Action was the first physical record I had from you guys, but before that I would have like just downloaded MP3s or whatever, or just heard stuff on Pure Volume, and like I always knew it. Like, 'cause I remember
Pure Volume, that's going back itself.
I've just remembered something. I remember like when I was sort of like 19 or 20, and I'd have like loads of posters on my wall and stuff. I remember like cutting out the advert for fucking the Rewind EP and like sticking like that on my montage on my wall. So I've always been, but like Action, I remember was the first one I have, and. Yeah, I can't see that on any streaming sites at the minute. So if I want to listen to like Heart Transplant or whatever, I always have to like just listen on YouTube, which is a shame because and also
I'm glad you said something.
And this, maybe it's just in Europe, but like the song, what's it called? The World. I loved that song, and I haven't listened to that for years because I can't even find like a stream of that on YouTube.
So this is an interesting one actually. I was on Spotify. I'm a bit of a slave to Spotify, but when you go to Punchline page, it doesn't have it in your discography. But if you search for like songs from it, you can actually find it.
Oh, I'm
interesting.
Sorry to be boring here. I'm just gonna have a quick look on there.
Search it up.
I use Tidal. Oh fuck! I can see Heart.
Nice,
that's encouraging.
nice.
And I'm just gonna quickly look for The World so I can. Oh yeah, The World by Punchline is on some compilation called Teen Beats. You're on there with Jason Derulo, All Time Low, Dua Lipa. What?
Seriously?
And it's this must be. Sorry,
I'm feeling a Jason Derulo collaboration coming on here.
That's really weird. It is.
It seems like a big deal for us.
That's random. Oh, okay. That's good to know. I can listen to those songs. Okay.
Can we frame the release of this podcast as a congratulations Punchline on your you're appearing on the same compilation as Jason Derulo.
I think we can make that happen. This is very random. You've got you've got Cardi B on here, and
Our
then,
whole discography is on Bandcamp. That's like where our most
okay.
comprehensive discography is.
Okay, so the answer is yes. I can very much listen to Action, which is good. Which is good news.
Nice.
What I remember, Battle Scars. That was another song that stood out to me. I remember, but
Nice.
It's gonna be
That
fun
was
revisiting
that was
album.
the song that we like wrote in the studio. That was the last song written for
Okay.
Action. Those were days when we would write 12 songs and go record 12 songs. Now I feel like we write 100 and record 10. It's interesting. It's just become an obsession.
That's good though.
And ideas, they don't go away. Didn't do that for the last record, but maybe this one's the time.
There you go. There you go. How do you feel about Action if you listen back to it now?
I like Action. I don't love. Well, let's talk about what I like. I mean, there's a handful of songs on there that are so signature to like our sound and what we've done in our history. I love Time in a Picture is a fave of mine, and A Sharp is a flat. These songs are like a little more of they're like deep cuts, but something about the musicality of them. We were really into this band called Red Animal War, who was like a random Deep Elm Records band. And they just had all these fun little like musicality transitions, like cutting the measure short or accenting this like weird beat. And we were trying to do some of that stuff. And that stuff is really fun. And the last song, Just Getting Started, is a very special song to me. Yeah, I really like those songs. I mean, it's I feel like we're such a different band now, not in like a bad way, just in a different, like have grown kind of way. But yeah, nothing but love for Action. 37 Everywhere though, I don't love
Really?
as much. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's one of my favorite records.
I appreciate that, and I like a lot. I like a lot about it. And when I say I don't. Anything I ever don't like, I like the basic concept or gist of most every song we've ever done, but I always grade songs on like the entire process, like from the writing, the recording.
Was that relative to kind of where what like you say you lost a guitar player, where your relationship with Fueled by Ramen, was there any like, is there anything there, I guess, that has you feeling that way?
So the guy that we lost, he was sort of our musical director. I feel like most bands have a, generally unspoken person who's like, the guy you look to, just,
for validation,
the music director. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And as, band members come and go, that dynamic can change, and it takes some time to like, whoever the new person is in that role, take some time. So I feel like 37 Everywhere was a stepping stone on the way to Just Say Yes to me, which is like much more like what we wanted to be, and like a more, I don't know, I like the recording better and just thought that the songs were more like fleshed out or something.
Yeah, I can see that. Like the production sounds better listening back, I would say.
Right,
but,
right.
Personally, I do like a lot of songs on 37 Everywhere, but
yeah, me too. I like, we still play Flashlight and Green Light, the light songs. We play those pretty regularly in sets. The Fueled by Ramen thing, Fueled by Ramen was great for 37 Everywhere, but it was becoming clear that a lot of our contemporaries were becoming platinum selling artists, which when for 37 Everywhere, we had this, so we were like the only band on Fueled by Ramen at that point that was signed directly to Fueled by Ramen, and everybody else was signed to like a major label who said, when you're big enough, you're going to be here, but we're going to start you off like in the minor leagues down here. and it was kind of a different thing, but also like those bands are great. But when we recorded 37 Everywhere, we had this apartment in New York that we were staying at, and it was above a bar. And the bars in New York are open until 4 a.m.
Sure.
And this was at like the peak of Dance Dance being a smash hit. And I'm not kidding. They would play Dance Dance every 15, 20 minutes at this bar. So I'm trying to go to sleep to like write these songs that are competitive for this record label that I'm on. And like, I'm like, God damn it, not Dance Dance. It's just like coming through the floor, like so like comically, so crazy, so funny. But yeah, that was what was going on with that. And yeah.
Was I Write Sins Not Tragedies the next one that was getting played through the ceiling as well?
I don't remember the time frame of that. They were so much younger and like weren't really I remember it
came a bit later, didn't they? The big
Panic at the Disco
smash
got signed and they haven't even played a show.
Yeah,
and people were like, wow, that's crazy. Like they didn't pay their dues. That feel like that was a little bit later, but the whole thing was wild, being having a front row seat to that whole pop punk bubble and Fueled by Ramen explosion was crazy, and such a testament to like you never know where the people you're with today will be,
right.
10 years from now. It's crazy. And Jason, whose floor we slept on in Chicago, like he's a head dude at Epitaph Records now.
Okay.
And like it's awesome where people go. It's really, really sweet. And I always tell bands who are like struggling, like just stick with your people, keep working hard, and like stay with your people, and you're going to get some success, and you're going to help them out, and they're going to get some success, and they're going to help you out,
Did you ever feel like frustrated when you saw, some bands from that scene explode or whatever, and you're just thinking, oh man, Punchline have got better songs than them? Like, was that ever a thing, or like
I would say
I mean, like, you don't have to honestly answer that one, because I know it's
right.
It's an awkward thing.
What I can say is that our approach was we saw a lot of people really like groveling all over Fall Out Boy and whatever, and we're like, we just want to be their friends. Like, I don't want to like be hitting these guys up all day and all night trying to like ride their coattails or something. And I think in the end that probably kind of isolated us a little bit. And I don't know. I thought that their songs were great. I mean, what Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, Paramore, Gym Class Heroes, like decade defining hit songs.
Did you feel the benefits like from a touring perspective or not, or were you kind of doing your other things, kind of touring wise? Like
What's that?
Big shows. Did you get the benefits of their blow
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we did a bunch of cool tours, tons, like endless cool tours. I don't think that we didn't have our sights set on that. It's like when we started our band, and we were going to see MXPX and bands like MXPX, Saves the Day, stuff like that. We were like, we want to be those bands touring in those clubs. And we never had the approach of like, we want to be on MTV or something. I mean, I'm sure we did, but we never approached it like that. And we had managers and whatnot, but I don't think that we had a really like innocent approach to like, let's like hustle and play shows and make friends and write songs and be cool. But then it was like later that we were like, we should get a manager.
I mean, you talk about MXPX and you look at Mike now, don't you? And he's like one of the hardest working guys, and like still doing stuff. They never really kind of hit the big, the big time. But like he, I think he gets more respect for not, more than anything.
I mean, he's created
does things
his
with Goldfinger.
world.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's so cool. I look at him and I just think that he's got. I think he's DIY king kind of these days.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Definitely.
A lot of respect for him. We toured with him that one time in the UK, and he was so cool to tour with. And you never know what people are going to be like, and he was super cool. What a cool guy.
Yeah. Cool. So I guess going back to just the split with Fueled by Ramen, was that a straightforward split? Was it just kind of the end of your deal, or I mean, how did that go down?
Yeah, it was pretty. It was the end of our deal, and I think that we could have done another album with them, but it was something like the timeline of it would have been so long, and we were like really itching to get onto our next thing. So we ended up just not doing another. Our contract was up, and instead of starting a new contract, we were like, we're just going to do our own thing, and we went and we worked with Jamie Woolford from The Stereo, who was one of the earlier Fueled by Ramen bands. He was like the generation of Fueled by Ramen just before Punchline, and that was kind of like the beginning of chapter 2, or our act 2, I would call it, kind of going back to our DIY roots and getting really obsessed. I mean, to me, like, that's when my favorite albums of ours begin. Just Say Yes and Delightfully Please. But we did Just Say Yes with him, and we actually went back to Sean O'Keefe to do a couple songs for that record. And by this point, pop punk extraordinaire producer Sean O'Keefe had mellowed out and was drinking wine and putting on the Beach Boys in between takes, or when we would take breaks, and like played me all this cool music and showed me the band Phoenix. And I'm like, that's when I was like, there's a lot more beyond punk. What is all this? And props to Sean for opening my eyes to a lot of new music and whatnot. And Just Say Yes, we did a bunch of touring, and it's crazy what we put into that album as an effort. Self-release, started a record label called Modern Short Stories and released the album on that, and had our album in stores on end caps, and it was all this like DIY operation. It was really interesting to go from Fueled by Ramen to our own thing, but it was like a pretty big, we bit off a lot on that album as far as like the starting a record label thing. And then the next album, Delightfully Pleased, Paul, who had been in the band for Action and Rewind EP, came back to the band. And I always I feel like, I don't know how familiar you guys are with that album. I feel like we were trying to make something that was more akin to Action, and it wasn't received how we thought it would be. Not that it was poorly received, but I don't think that the fans heard it that way.
Yeah, I don't remember disliking it, but like, to be honest with you, it never really stuck with me like some of your other records did. Interesting.
That was the last album where we stopped trying to do it for the fans and started just doing what makes us happy.
And I mean, you say you self-released it. You started that. Is it Modern Short Stories, the label you kind of put together and released it on? I mean, did you have it? I mean, what was there any big ambitions for that, or was it just really just to kind of release your own?
Stuff? And my exploration and years through music, it's like every couple years there's a new obsession that like you learn a whole new part of it. I had my booking years, I had my web design years, I've had my audio production years, and I had my record label years. And
Right.
you know,
Okay.
each soiree you kind of learn about what you like and what you don't like. And what I really what I really liked about it was working with the different artists and the different songs and the marketing and whatnot. But like I love the behind the scenes, like on the production side and the preparing side. But then when it came to the sales side, I loved it once the songs were out there, but we didn't have the infrastructure and the dollars to, you know, keep it going. And I think
Right.
eventually got more into audio production, and the label kind of went the wayside, but worked on, you know, had a pretty cool catalog. And you know, the way I look at it is modern short stories is basically like the community, the bigger community outside of Punchline. It's still to this day is like an active community, just all of us working together on different things.
Okay.
So, I mean, I guess after Just Say Yes and Delightfully Pleased, you had a bit of a break. Was that your kind of back to college break? I mean, what was the situation?
So we did that EP, So Nice to Meet You,
Of course, yeah.
after Delightfully Pleased. And that was with Mark McCluskey. And that was our first time working with Mark McCluskey, who then basically became our producer for this last decade. And So Nice to Meet You was a 5-song EP that had the song Universe on
Yeah,
it.
which is like a big song for you ever since, really, isn't it?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's basically, I would say that's become like our biggest
Yeah.
song. We always
Is it-
play that last.
Right,
Um,
right. And I remember, I don't know which one of you guys I had on Facebook at the time, maybe it was Chris, but like he was like really pushing that EP when it was released, and I think quite successfully. Like it got in, like, I think it got like in the iTunes top 10 or something. Because
It
like,
did. It did. Yeah.
you were really getting your fans behind it,
Yeah.
which was really cool.
That was one of the craziest moments in Punchline for
Right.
sure. You know, the whole thing was transitioning from, you know, CDs were dead by that point.
Yeah.
iTunes was the rage, but, you know, also just trading music and MP3s and stealing music also was all the rage. You know, it wasn't, you know, basically if you were spending money on music because you loved it, not because you had to.
Yeah.
And he made this note that somewhat spoke to that was basically like, if you care about our band, like we need your support with this release, or
Yeah.
we can't do it. And I think the way that the note read was like really split the crowd down the middle, including myself. I woke up and like saw this on the internet, this note that he had wrote, and I called him and was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And he explained it to me more poignantly than, you know. And once he gave me the TLDR, I was like, "Well, you need to get on video and explain yourself that way." And then he did that, did this like follow up video to this note, and just our fan base got so behind it and bought the shit out of it, and it broke the top 10 on iTunes. We made a lot of new fans from that, and I have like a screenshot of our album being, the top 3 were like of rock were like Punchline, then the Beatles, and then Metallica. It was
That's
only
awesome.
3 days. I imagine the Beatles are still on the charts, but
Right.
um, yeah, yeah, that was a pretty wild time on our ride.
And I mean, how have you changed? Obviously, those you talked about, those early years were just mad touring wise. I mean, as you kind of the band's progressed and you know your releases through years, have you changed? Obviously, you're doing less now, but how do you kind of how did you change, and how do you decide kind of what you do from like a touring perspective? And I guess where are the other guys at now in terms of their lives outside of the band, and how it all fits in together?
Right. So, um, to pick back up on the story and just kind of like lead into that,
Yeah.
after So Nice to Meet You, I moved to Nashville for many years. and was doing the audio production thing, and kind of took the longest break to date from Punchline. And we made an album in 2016 that was just me and Chris, and it's called Thrilled. And that was kind of like making that, the release of that album was what kind of sparked this new chapter of Punchline, which we've been in for the last five years, I would say, with the same lineup. And when I moved back to Pittsburgh and we started to make Lion, which was the album after Thrilled, our first album with Trevor, our guitar player, that was kind of like, hey, let's do this again. It's been years. Let's see what we can do. With every album you make, you want to do it as big as you can. But I mean, really, for us, like a band who's been around this long, at this point, man, I want the records. Like, I'm gonna die, and I want to know that the records are out there. Like, that is the absolute legacy type thing for me, is the songs. But with Lion, we toured with the Gin Blossoms, and we toured with Less Than Jake, and we did a headlining tour with this band, The Stolen, and that was the most touring that we had done in 5 or 6 years, which was pretty neat. And so I feel like we toured our last album, harder than the two before that, because it's just an ebb and flow of like growing up and starting families and and living life. But the new songs, they bring you back, baby. But what's everybody else doing? Corey, well, Chris is, you might have heard Chris on Chris DeMakes podcast. He's the producer of Chris DeMakes, a podcast, and very much a voice on that podcast. Yeah. But so he does podcast producing, and he does a lot of animation, and he's Chris. Chris is Chris. He's a Chris is a character.
It's the One Hit Wonder podcast, that him as well.
One Hit Thunder.
One Hit Thunder, even. Yeah,
it's a great podcast. Yeah. They go through one hit wonders and figure out, was it one hit thunder, or was it a one hit blunder?
Yeah, no, it's really fun. I don't know if you know that, Nick, but it's cool, particularly if it's like a song that you're a fan of. I love the 9 Days episode of that. It was really cool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and Chris plays in some other bands. He actually has a band called Another Cheetah that is with it's the lineup from Punchline minus me, plus plus 2 other guys.
Right. Okay.
But it's all good. I'm going to see them play tomorrow. And nice, Corey, our drummer, Corey's been with us he's been with us about 11 or 12 years, since Delightfully Pleased was his first album. And he plays drums in another band called Lakeview. And we all do like side production work. Various recording efforts. Like he does session drumming. Brilliant drummer. If you need somebody to play drums on your songs, look him up, Corey Miro. And Trevor, our guitar player, he has another band called The End of America, and he does producing as well. And he is a stay-at-home father, and he's a wonderful man. But yeah, we're all kind of like in the position, we're next year's our 25th year, and we gotta honor that. So we're gonna have a new record, and we're gonna have as many happenings as we can while still remaining happy, sane people. And it's gonna be great. It feels like it's years like we're in right now can feel frustrating when you're spending all the time making the stuff, and it feels like it might never see the light of day. But next year is the year for us, and later this year.
Okay. Any ambitions, do you think, to get across to Europe again at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to plant some seeds for that, and I would love to. We've only done the UK, so I would love to do
really
elsewhere Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it only that MXPX tour that you did, or did you do more UK tours?
We did another tour with Wheatus. That was
that
a year before that.
Yeah, I forget. That tour used to have a name, I feel like, and
the Good to Go tour.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was almost going to say the Get Go, but no, that was Chris Mess's band that you were touring with.
Yeah.
On
yeah. Hey, that thing that you mentioned earlier, I guess that's part of our discography almost. But after Lion, we made this thing called the Punchline Music Special, which is basically an hour-long. It's not a documentary, it's not a live show. It's a music special, and it's on Amazon Prime or it's on our website. But I hope you check it out.
Yeah, we'll link to that in the show notes. Definitely.
Cool. Well, I think we've done the journey, haven't we now? So I'm just looking at the notes we've got here, and there's just random notes which I don't Chris has made them, so I can't make sense. There's one note that says Snowy Owl on the cover of Thrilled.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When I was just looking, I mean, there's more prominent questions I want to ask. I mean, we will not keep you too much longer, Steve, but there's more prominent questions I want to ask ahead of that. But yeah, I was just re-listening to Thrilled, and I saw, that's a cool album cover. I was just wanting to ask how that came about.
We were on tour somewhere, driving in like the middle of the night. I was driving. We were in Vermont, and out of nowhere, I just see something like lobbing out like into view, and fall and hit our van. Okay, so just like this, and it was a snowy owl. Whoa. And it got stuck. Just like this owl fell. I don't know if it was dead when it started falling or if it died on impact, but fell and hit the front of our van and got stuck in the grill of the van. So like this thing comes, hits the van, and there's just like a wing sticking up over I couldn't tell it was an owl. I just knew it was a bird of some kind sticking up, over the van. So we pull over. And when we stopped the van, it like fell off, and we get out, and we're like, "That's a snowy owl!" Like, and we looked it up, and it was very rare. And I think we said, I feel like this is on a podcast. This is on like an old podcast. It happened while we were doing the podcast or something. So the snowy owl, Thrilled was that was a little tribute to that owl.
Oh, nice.
But the album cover was by our friend Brendan Walter, who is the guitar player in the band Valencia, and he's music video and album cover maker extraordinaire for lots of bands.
Oh, nice. We've had Shane on the show. Speaking of Valencia.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Yeah, very cool.
That's
guy.
Sweet.
Very
Shane,
cool
I love Shane. Yeah,
he was very cool. I mean, I should have stopped you on 37 Everywhere. I'm sure you probably get asked this a lot, but like, I know the album was called 37 Everywhere because the number 37 is allegedly everywhere. Like, is that something that you still notice, or like?
I don't feel like it has
as
much of the eerie feeling to it, so much as it's become just like, such a part of our community that it's like, if I see you and you have a 37 written on your arm, like, I know you're my people.
I'll tell you my weird little 37 story that came out of hearing why that album was called that. So I was telling my friends one weekend, because it was around the time that album was out, and I saw a cool blog post about why it's called that. It's because number 37's everywhere. And my friend said, that's weird, because he had like Sanskrit tattoos. And like, if you look at it, you could just see the number 37 throughout it. And you're like, okay, that's cool. That's a bit weird. And then like the next day, I was just thinking about that conversation again. I thought, I wonder if I can see any 37s in my own ink on my own arm. And I looked down, and I'm going to see if you can see this on the camera. One sec. And the first thing I see is, hang on. Can you see that?
3 and a 7.
Yeah.
Upside down 7.
Yeah, because that's his first time. That's just upside down. But when I looked down, and that was the first thing I saw, and I was like, okay, that is kind of weird,
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. What other notes you got?
Oh, one thing I did want to ask is we had that guy Moon who's in Goldfinger recently, and I think you commented on our post, and you were just like, because we were talking about Feldman with him, and you're like, oh yeah, I got a cool Feldman story. Yeah, like you mentioned.
I don't know if it was cool. I don't know if it's a cool story.
No, yeah, okay, maybe not cool. Interesting, maybe not cool. Cool's
Right.
the wrong word.
Right.
Yeah, you mentioned like a friend of yours who was working with him, and then a riff that
Right.
they.
It was
I mean,
a-
we can cut
Oh,
this
yeah.
out if it's awkward or whatever. But
Right.
which band was this that was?
I
was
wouldn't say
recorded?
what band it was, but basically a friend's band wrote with him, worked on a song, and nothing came of that. But then like the riff
Yeah.
from that song appeared on another release.
Yeah.
Not like within the next couple months or something, and it was just like so close. Like, come on, man! Like, one of those deals. But I don't know the guy, and all I know is that he said we didn't move around on stage enough to work with us.
Really?
I'm like I can't do a back. I'm like I can't do a backflip. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he sounds like an interesting guy. I mean, I don't want to talk down on him or whatever. I'd love to have him on the show, and I love a lot of his work. But like,
Right.
I hear interesting stories about
We've
him.
heard a
Right,
lot of
yeah.
differing stories, haven't we, from our guests that have kind of crossed paths with him, and yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
interesting
I mean,
one.
no, we should stress not all bad. Like Moon loves him, Mike Herrera loves him. So it's not. But yeah, it's interesting.
Nice. I mean, he's made some of my favorite sounding ear candy, rock records, and I give him that, like, massive Goldfinger fan. I don't know the guy. I would like to, and I would be curious to see what he would do with Punchline. But also, he seems really intense. We try to keep it chill around here.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely intense, I think, is the word, isn't it? Yeah, that we hear a lot.
Yeah.
Moving on to something slightly less intense. Your Punchline Pets project.
Yeah.
What's the stitch with that one?
We're animal lovers, and we were working with this animal rescue place outside of Pittsburgh called TJ's Hideaway for some time, and we just thought it would be fun to have our fans send us pictures of their pets, because who doesn't want to show you pictures of their pets? So it was just a fun thing. Chris edited together some pictures and videos of people with their pets collage to our songs and whatnot. But if you're looking for 3,000 or so pictures of pets, if you need an archive, I'm your guy.
I think you just go on my photo album. I've got plenty of my own.
Yeah.
It was our sneaky step into the pet photo licensing, animal photo licensing game.
Chris, have you got anything left on these random notes on the end? I'm not sure where the Man City type badge comments come from. What's that all about?
Oh yeah, like that. I feel like it was when you were on tour with one of your many tours with Less Than Jake, and I think it was the one with Callie Massey and Mess. Maybe we've used it a few times, but like the badge
That's
usually
right.
looked like
Our
the
drummer-
Man City badge.
Yes,
Like,
our drummer is
that intentional.
a Man City,
Okay.
huge Man City fan. I don't speak sports, but that
Is
boy
he-
loves soccer.
I mean, is he a kind of long time Man City fan, or is he
Yeah,
more of
oh,
a
yeah.
recent Saudi Arabian
No,
money fan?
long time, and he wakes
Fair
up,
enough. Fair
super early on weekends or whenever they are to watch the games. Like, and he sleeps in. Like, well, he doesn't sleep in. He just doesn't get up. He doesn't get up old man early. But for the games, he will.
Steve, I'm conscious we've been going like an hour, so I reckon, Nick, maybe I see you've put some like sort of quick fire questions. Maybe we could just finish with those, and then we'll let you get on with your Friday, Steve, if that's
For sure.
if that's cool with you.
So first one, Dream Tour, dead or alive, as well. You can have a couple of 2 or 3 bands on your Dream Tour.
Beatles, Strokes, Jenny Lewis.
Okay. Dream Rider.
Ooh, lots of vegetables, lots of nuts, lots of uh, lots of healthy. I really like healthy snacks and juice. What am I missing here? Alcohol? No, that's okay.
I mean,
LaCroix?
yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I guess it links into this one nicely.
that's a
So we
good
got Food
answer.
Heaven and Food Hell.
That's the next one? Yeah, okay. Food Heaven is everything I just named.
Vegetables.
And Food Hell is bread and
really?
sugar. Yeah, I have a strong aversion to
Bread-
them, so I
bread
don't
and
eat
sugar.
so I don't eat them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I eat like a bird.
Oh, it's healthy, man. It's healthy.
Makes me feel good. I ate pizza and I just want to go to
What-
sleep.
Favorite all-time TV show or current favorite TV show?
Sopranos and The Wire, and that is all.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Got a couple more. So, movie soundtrack you put a Punchline song on?
Ooh, like past movie or future movie?
Past movie, yeah.
Yeah, right. We used to have we had one manager that we would ask him to try to get us on soundtracks that were already out as like a joke. You know, we'd be like, "You got to get us on the Zoolander soundtrack." He's like, "I don't know what you mean. That movie came out like a year ago. How am I gonna?" Tom.
I saw you did a riff on that in the music
Oh,
music
okay.
special, didn't
Nice.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Tom Hanks movie. It would be nice to be on a soundtrack to him, assuming it's a nice movie, which he's a nice man, so it probably will be.
That's true. And then finally we got just what's your favorite Punchline album or EP?
Favorite album? I'm still obsessed with Lion, our last album. But if I I have like a favorite song on every album, I would probably say, like Action, it's Just Getting Started, and 37 Everywhere. It's Flashlight, and just Say Yes, Ghosty, I really like. Delightfully Pleased, I love Roller Coaster Smoke, the song about that TV show Lost. But Lion overall, and the new one, that's the favorite.
Awesome. We look forward to that coming out.
Yeah, I mean, just on that, have you got a kind of target date, month kind of in mind in terms of like the new release?
Probably like spring, summer 2022. Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll come back on.
Yeah, sounds good, man. So yeah, 100% up for that.
Nice. If anybody else, I have
On
a
that
side
note,
project called Blue of Colors. It's like a
Blue Color.
solo thing. If that I'm going to be putting out some new music for that. If anybody wants to lend their ears and hear the little more indie rock side of what I have to bring.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to check that out.
Yeah, sorry we didn't talk about
No
that.
worries.
Yeah, like
No worries.
I saw you just released like a remix of one of the
Yeah,
songs.
and I have
because the album's from a few years ago now.
That's
isn't it?
right. But I've got a new one that's almost finished that I'm working with. Charlie from Miniature Tigers is producing, and it's pretty exciting.
Nice.
A lot of
Definitely
stuff.
go check it
I
out.
got a new side project too with do you guys know the band Bright and Early or the High Court? I don't know if you remember them. Me.
I know Bright and Early.
Nice. Me and John, JB, the singer, and Heath from Midtown and Senses Fail.
Oh yeah,
and
Saracena.
right,
Yeah.
and our buddy Carl Strum, amazing guitar player. We've got a new project that we're working on. We haven't said anything about it, haven't said the name. We're just working on tunes, but it's super cool. I'm super excited about it. So hoping.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah,
fun.
been working on like 30 songs that I got to finish before I die, so they can come out and be all this new music. I'm not dying. Not
Awesome.
any more than you.
No.
Unless
How-
there's something I don't know. And I
Yeah.
hope there isn't.
No, well, yeah, neither do I. So we're all good. We're all good.
Good. Yeah, you guys look healthy.
Ish. Yeah, ish.
Yeah.
With all things considered at the moment, yeah, we're doing pretty fucking well.
Yeah.
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 Nice. That's good. Who are your favorite bands?
Nick, do you want to go first?
I've kind of spanned across genres kind of since the pop punk heyday, but yeah, MXPX are definitely up there in that genre as one of my favorite
Nice.
bands. But
That's awesome.
I like listening to a lot of like soul and disco and stuff now as well. So
Cool.
a lot of older stuff.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I'd say my big favourites from the pop punk world: MXPX and Good Charlotte. Social Distortion, one of my favourites,
Nice.
and Sam Cooke, to throw in another genre.
Nice.
I love greatest singer of all time.
That's awesome, man. And you guys know that band Duran Jones and the Indications? Is that what it's called? They're a soul band. That was one of the last bands I saw before the
I'm
before
not
the
sure
world
who.
shut down. Look up Duran Jones. Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent band. Very nice.
Definitely will.
Very cool. What do you guys think about like the new pop punk, or like people keep saying like pop punk's back? I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Definitely coming at a different angle, isn't it? And it's kind of got this kind of contemporary spin on it. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, and there's all these people emulating the way Machine Gun Kelly sings on his record.
Oh, gotcha.
And yeah, I think it's kind of cool.
Right.
I think it's a bit different from what we were getting 15 years ago, and it's getting a lot of young people into it and stuff. Like, I don't know if you know this guy Kenny Hoopla. We're supposed to speak to him next month, and he's like just done an album with Travis Barker, and like, I don't know. I think I find it kind of interesting. I don't like all of it, but like I like that it's happening. What do you think about it all?
I don't really pay so much attention. I mean, I checked out Machine Gun Kelly, and like I'm like, I mean, it's cool to hear guitars in songs and see like people play guitars on Saturday Night Live for the musical act. I mean, I think the styles are always gonna ebb and flow. And to me, like, is the song good, you know? And I feel like I didn't love the Machine Gun Kelly, like songs didn't really grab me, didn't go back and revisit it. But that like Olivia Rodrigo, yeah, she was on SNL, one of the last like episodes of the season. Her second song, like, I mean, the band was like full rock band, and that was kind of cool to see somebody. I mean, like this, there were plenty of guitars and whatnot on SNL this past season. The Strokes were fantastic and perfect, I will say. But to hear her do that in something that's like a little more mainstream, it's cool. I'm happy to see guitars. I just don't think
I agree.
People were like, man, like it's all electronic and pop music. I'm like, I know like 100 indie rock, like DIY indie rock bands in Pittsburgh who like aren't that at all. I just don't think people like are looking hard enough to find the pocket you want is out there. Your dream band is out there. It is mind blowing how much is out there. You just may not have found it yet. It's like every scene now has split off, and every little tangent is going to go off in its own direction and create like its own pocket. It's not like it's one thing and then it evolves into this thing and then it goes to this. It's just like.
Yeah, and I think the way people consume music's changed so much now, isn't it? And accessibility for people and for younger people, like getting into music, it's so different to back in the day when we were growing up, and you almost kind of you had to gravitate to a genre because you'd have to spend your money on CDs or whatever. So you would almost kind of stick to a genre, whereas now people growing up in music, and it's so accessible, isn't it? And to move around genres and to experience different things. So yeah,
I feel like
go
on.
I was just gonna say that I think that's what's driving maybe some of these new artists, and I guess the Machine Gun Kelly and the Kenny Hooplas, who are kind of coming from a bit of a kind kind of urban side into, you know, from the rap and the hip hop into kind of, you know, pop punk. I don't know.
Right.
Who knows?
I think it's fascinating that I miss riding in cars with people and hearing what they'll put on. And, you know, it's a long car ride. You have to sit with it. You know, you can't change it. And I'm like, you know, me and all my friends, we're all obsessed with music. And like, I have my people I share music with, but there's like not, you would think that now there's so much more music and therefore good music, that now there will be so much more sharing of good music. And it doesn't seem to be the case. I feel like I maybe get sent 3 songs a week, you know, like, you know, a friend texting like, you got to check out this song, or like, you check out this song. And that's only stuff that like, it's an established, like, that's just what we do, is like, you know, trade music links. And like, where's the music sharing, you know?
Well, we go on for you. Go and check out a band called The Love Breakers, a song called Family Man, right after this podcast. And there you go. We're sharing the love there. Chris is now managing that band, who started off as guests on our show after we kind of fell in love with, just stumbled across something.
Yeah. They're. I mean, we obviously, like, we're really into them. They're kind of very British sounding.
Okay.
Kind of like, you know, it's like the Clash meets Tom Petty, but they're just great songs, and they're kind of doing a lot of things. And as Nick says, I've started working with them, which has been a fun adventure. Awesome. So Love Breakers, one word.
Love Breakers.
Appreciate the plug there, Nick.
Very cool.
Love Breakers.
Love Breakers.
Yeah, that's it.
Very cool.
But yeah, I think we can probably, on that note, wrap this up. Steve, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Giving us your time.
Yeah, I appreciate being here.
Cool. We look forward to hearing that new stuff when it's ready.
Yeah. We'll see if we can hook it up.
Yeah.
Maybe get you and Chris on when the record's out or something.
Cool.
That might be fun.
Cool. That would be awesome. Yeah. It's
awesome.
It's going to be great. I'm really excited for it. I can't wait for everybody to hear the new thing. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, man.
All right.
Cheers.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers.
Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, we'd love it if you could subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast, whether that's iTunes or Spotify or Stitcher or anywhere like that. Also, check us out on social media. If you just search for Wasting Time Podcast on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, give us a like or a follow on any of those. And also, we love hearing from listeners as well. So feel free anytime to drop us an email at thewastingtimepodcast@gmail.com, or obviously you can message us on social media as well. But we'll catch you next time.